Every month, finance teams repeat the same Excel process. They download the latest data, copy it into last month's file, update formulas, compare results with budget, investigate variances, and rebuild the report. This work can take days. I know, I used to do this back in my management accounting days, and while the numbers changed each month, the process stayed the same. So in this video, I'm working with MindsHub to see whether it can take over these recurring workflows. But the real test isn't whether it can produce one impressive file. It's whether it can create a transparent process that we can review, reuse, and improve every month. I've linked the sample files and prompt in the video description so you can follow along. Okay, let's get started. I've got 3 Excel files containing my data, starting with a 12-month budget by account code, category, and department, actuals for January to June, from which we can base a forecast, and then a new file with July's actuals, which will get MindsHub to incorporate and adjust the forecast, fully replacing the tedious repetitive work. These files are deliberately separate because that's often how monthly reporting arrives in the real world. The challenge is bringing the files together consistently, applying the correct business rules, and updating the model without rebuilding it every month. Let's close the files and see how MindsHub handles it. MindsHub is an open workspace for AI agents that can work across your files, data, and connected tools to complete multi-step tasks and produce finished outputs. So it's perfect for automating tasks like forecasting, which involve combining files, applying business rules, creating an auditable Excel model, and then repeating the process whenever new data arrives. It's available as a desktop app or through an online console, which is what I'm using here. I'll start by dragging in my Excel files, but just note you can also connect to other apps and data sources direct, including AWS, Azure, SQL, Oracle, and loads more. I've prepared a detailed prompt that defines the forecasting rules and the outputs I want, and I've pasted it in. And you can download this prompt along with the sample files using the link in the video description. In my prompt, I've outlined the forecasting rules. Most of the accounts where the trend is stable will be a simple extrapolation of the Jan to June actuals through July to December, except for online sales, where we want to forecast 3% growth month on month. And of course, product purchases will be a proportion of sales, as will marketing. And then our fixed costs like salaries, rent, and depreciation will be as per budget. Finally, we'll get it to create a new file with all the reports you'd expect, including budget versus actual and forecast variance analysis. The important point here is that I'm not asking the AI to invent a forecast. I'm giving it explicit business rules for different types of accounts, just as I would when building the model myself. I've also asked for formulas rather than hard-coded values. This should make it easier to audit, explain, and modify. Let's click send and see how it goes. You can follow the steps and status updates as it works through the task, which makes it easier to monitor what's going on. Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to pause the recording while it processes and fast forward to the result. Okay, MindsHub has finished creating the forecast file, which we find under the live artifacts. Let's open it up in Excel and take a look. The first sheet is the legend, which documents the workbook. Then we've got the actuals Jan to June and the budget Jan to December. We can see the assumptions, and if we click in the cells, you can see they're all formula-based, which is great. And then on the forecast sheet, it's also formula-based, and we can see it refers to the assumptions. So not only is it transparent, but if we need to modify anything in the assumptions, it's going to feed through to the forecast and automatically recalculate. Then we've got the full year actuals and forecast, a sheet for the forecast variance to budget, and finally a P&L summary. This is a strong result. The formulas allow me to audit how the figures were calculated and change the assumptions if the circumstances change. At this point, however, MindsHub has only completed the task once. The bigger opportunity is capturing the process so that next month updates follows the same rules without requiring another long prompt. And this is where skills come in. Let's have MindsHub set one up. My prompt is create a skill for this task so that each month when we get new actual data, we can insert the new actuals and revise the forecast accordingly. Let's send that and let it do the work. It's finished creating the skill. Now all I need to do is click on Save Skill and then go into the skills library, and it's there. So next time we have MindsHub work on the forecast, it'll automatically use this skill to guide the work. And this means we'll get more consistent results without having to write complex prompts, making it work even faster. Let's test it out with July's data. I'll drag in the file and paste in my prompt. Use the rolling budget forecast skill to incorporate the July actuals in the attached file and revise the forecast for the remaining months of the year. Don't overwrite the original forecast file, make a copy of the file and update it for August to December's forecast. Let's send that. I'll pause recording and skip to the results. Okay, it's finished. Let's go into Live Artifacts and open the August to December forecast. We've got a new file with Jan to July actuals. The forecast assumptions have been updated and the revised forecast for August to December recalculated. So we've got new full year figures and a variance analysis, all formula driven and tied back to the forecast assumptions, so we can easily modify it if required. However, I've spotted an issue in the variance report. For costs, spending above budget is being calculated as a positive variance. That's an important catch, and it demonstrates exactly why I asked for formulas and why AI-generated work still needs to be reviewed. Rather than creating this workbook, I can update the skill to define the variance convention more explicitly. That way, the correction becomes part of the process and should be applied to future forecast refreshes as well. Once the numbers and calculations have been checked, the next challenge is turning them into something management can act on. Let's ask MindsHub to create a HTML summary presentation for management that compares the actual and forecast to budget and any forecasting anomalies, now that we have July actuals, compared to what we forecast for July originally. Let's send that, and I'll pause recording while it works on the presentation. Okay, the presentation is ready and we can preview it here. The first page gives us a high-level overview of revenue, gross profit, EBITDA and net profit, and a snapshot of the P&L. And then some written explanations of key messages identifying the areas that management may need to investigate. We've got monthly performance over time, the full year P&L forecast versus budget. We've got analysis of July actual versus the prior year forecast, so we can see where the forecast may have been off for July specifically. And then forecasting anomalies and watch items. And I particularly like this slide with next steps and recommendations, which identifies anomalies in July's actuals compared to forecast. Getting timely information enables management to act quickly. I would still review the explanations against the underlying data before distributing the report, but this gives me a substantial head start on the analysis and commentary that would otherwise have been prepared manually. And of course, you can have it make corrections and adjust the skill for future iterations. So once you're happy with the presentation, you can share it. If you're working with sensitive information, you can password protect it or restrict it to specific users. Having MindsHub take over the laborious monthly reporting process from start to finish is a huge time saver. This is only one example of the type of recurring workflow you could build with MindsHub. You can also connect it to communication channels like Slack, Discord, Telegram, and WhatsApp, allowing tasks to be started from the tools your team already uses. So what's my verdict? MindsHub handled a substantial part of this monthly forecasting and reporting workflow. What I really liked was that it created a formula-based workbook with documented assumptions that I could audit, adjust, and reuse. And when I spotted the issue with the variance calculation, I could see exactly where the logic needed refining and update the skill, so the improvement carries forward to future reports. And that's where I think MindsHub offers the most value. It can turn a repetitive process that normally has to be rebuilt every month into a reusable workflow, while still keeping you in control of the assumptions and the final result. You can download the sample files and prompts used in this video and get MindsHub free, including 5 million tokens every month to get started. The links are in the video description. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next video.